Welcome back to Dodge Band Life, or should I call it the Ranger Life? So this is the official start of this build. This is my 2004 Ford Ranger, just a standard cab XL with the 2.3 Ford Duratec engine in it. As you can see, I've already started the teardown process. I have the parts here. You can see the intake manifold and the intake tubing and whatever in the box. Also picked up a manual. Just loosened the power steering pump down here and the reservoir. I've removed the what do you call it, the radiator, because I'm going to be replacing that. This shouldn't be over here. Going to be replacing the radiator with an all aluminum core from a 4-liter V6 version of this truck, because they made a 2.3-liter inline 4 version, a 3-liter V6, and a 4-liter V6, which also came in the Explorers. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be swapping in a 2.5 from a Ford Fusion. There's been a couple people that have done it on the Ranger forums I've seen, and so I've read through their articles, and it seems like a pretty easy swap. And the reason I'm swapping this engine out is because I ran it without oil one day because I wasn't aware that there was an oil leak, and it had been sitting for probably a good year or two, and so all the oil had drained out of it. And so when I ran it, I created a Ragnarok. So that's completely my fault. I'm an idiot. Shouldn't have ran it without oil. Should have checked the dipstick, but I didn't. And here we are. So instead of trying to fix the knocking rod, right, because I'm assuming a bearing went out, a rod bearing probably slipped or something, and it's causing rod knock. So instead of fixing it, because that's a lot of work, because I'd have to pull the engine out and disassemble the entire thing. I mean, I guess I could just rebuild it at that point. But instead of rebuilding, the cost of a rebuild is, I think a kit goes for like 900. I could be wrong. Maybe it's cheaper than that. Maybe it's only like 300. But instead of just rebuilding it, I figured might as well just throw in an engine with more displacement that's already pre-built. I will be having to do certain things, like I'll have to transfer all these accessories over. So the accessory bracket that used to be here, the AC can stay, right? But a lot of these, the oil pump, the water pump, I think need to be transferred over. Not 100% sure, but once I get the other engine and put them side by side, it'll be easier to figure out what I need to do. And I think I also need to change out the cams from the 2.5 and swap the ones in here over. And everything else should theoretically be plug and play. The exhaust manifold still works on the new engine. So does the fuel rail and the ignition system. So there's been some debate about whether or not the 2.5 injectors are better than the 2.3, or which one works better, or whatever. I guess I'll test that out on my own once I get the new engine and get it plugged in there, get it up and running. Right now I'm planning, I think, on just using the stock injectors here, because then it'll be positive, right? They flow more for the bigger displacement versus trying to flow less with the 2.5 injectors. But we'll see. There's also been a couple posts saying that if you buy a certain model year injectors, then they work perfectly. So I'll have to do a little bit more research on that. But otherwise, yeah, pretty straightforward swap. Just taking the entire long block and just swapping over the cams basically. And that's pretty much it. Yeah, so now that I've explained what I'm gonna do with the engine, I guess as you can see over here, I've got the cherry picker all ready to go and an engine stand. So I'm kind of in the preparation stage. But as far as other mods go after the engine's done, right now I'm sort of just focused on just getting the engine out and getting the new one in, which I haven't purchased yet. So I'm gonna be picking that up probably next week. So in the next video, you'll probably see me pulling this one out and putting the new one in. Or, you know, fiddling with it or whatever. So I don't have the new engine yet, but eventually what I'm going to be doing is swapping out the rear axle as well to a Ford 8.8 out of an exploder is what they call it, I guess. and I'm gonna retain the spring under style from the Explorer, because the Ranger here, the spring is over the axle, right? And so I'm gonna do spring under, and that's gonna drop me about 5 inches in the rear. This is probably around 7 inches right here, so it'll give me a 2-inch gap. And so I have lowering springs that I bought for my Dajiban actually, but I never used them because they were the wrong size. They're for a smaller truck, and so I'm gonna see if those will fit in here so I can lower the front down. So it'll basically be a mini truck build where I'm lowering it. I'm gonna swap out the seats because these seats are pretty torn up. I have like Dajiban parts in here that I'm storing, but this side's pretty clean, but the driver's side is pretty torn. So I'm gonna replace the seats from some leftovers I had from my Honda Accord build over there. Those seats in there were really clean, but they were cloth, and I swapped them out for leather seats. And so now I have perfectly good cloth seats that I'm not using. So I figured I'd trash these, right, and throw in the cloth seats in here. So I'd have to modify the back bracketry and whatever. And then probably just stripping down the interior here, because as you can see the headliner fell off, so I just ripped the rest of it off. And this foam stuff is sort of disintegrating now, as you can see, from being in the elements. So I'm probably just gonna rip that down and just have a plain metal. Don't really care about this truck. It's more gonna be a daily driver and a parts truck for me. But you know, I'll spruce it up. I might swap out the radio. I've been using the stock radio for forever, since I've had it. And so, you know, getting some new speakers and stuff like that, just cleaning it up and making it look, you know, decently nice. And then I'll probably do some body work here, because I thought I was Rambo one day, and I ran into someone that I thought was following me. That's a whole other story. But yeah, I'm gonna see if I can fix some of this body work and maybe a paint job. We'll see if I can get that far. But yeah, that's pretty much the beginning of the build. I'm just gonna spend the rest of the day taking out the exhaust system, and unhooking this exhaust header so that I can prepare the engine to be pulled out. And maybe, who knows, I might be able to pull this guy out today. But yeah, that'll be for the next video. You'll see me pulling this thing out. So just not that much stuff left, just unhooking some O2 sensors, some electrical connectors down at the bottom. I do have to remove the transmission first before I pull out the engine, because I don't want to put them out together, because there's not a whole lot of space up here, because I'm not taking off this front clip. I think that it's welded in anyway, so it'd be a lot easier to pull the engine out without the transmission attached to it. So I'm going to see if I can pull the transmission out from the bottom, and then see if I can pull the engine out through the top. So yeah, that's it. If you're interested in watching this build, just a simple 2.5 drop-in. I'll probably make an extra 10 to 20 horsepower because I'm not doing any upgrades to the engine at least. I looked into some upgrades, like the intake manifold and maybe some exhaust headers or something, but there really aren't too many things available for this truck that retain the stock emission system is the problem, because I live in California, and in California we need to abide by the bar, I guess, in order for DMV to register and all that. So currently this is a non-op, so not a big issue, but once I try to get it operational again, they're going to check for, you know, want a smog check and all that. And there are parts for this. You can Frankenstein some stuff together, because the Mazda Miata from 09 or 08, I believe, and onwards up to 2015 shared a lot of the same parts, like bolt patterns and stuff, because they're the same block design. So there is a header for the Miata, but it's a slightly longer than the stock header here, and so it wouldn't made up to my Cat. And so I don't want to go catless or buy an aftermarket Cat, because Cats are pretty expensive. So I'd rather just reuse a lot of this stuff and keep the cost as low as possible. And so yeah, there's not a lot of mods I'll be doing other than just the displacement. So that might get me 10 extra horses and maybe 20 torque or something. But that's fine, you know. I've already done the air intake mod, where you rip out some of the nozzles and stuff, the snorkels and stuff in the airbox. So it's a direct breathing system, and using a K&N box filter. But yeah, other than that, not a whole lot else. There aren't too many mods for a Ranger, which kind of makes sense. It's, you know, not the most common platform that people, you know, modify. But yeah, that's it. So yeah, if you want to see me continue this build, go ahead and subscribe. And I should be releasing videos pretty much weekly, if not every other week at least, for sure. But yeah, thanks for watching.